Xi Jinping. Stay tuned for details of these and more in a moment. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We head now to the national scene where the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development has announced uniform sale prices for housing units under its renewed Hope Estate program nationwide. It was contained in a statement signed by the ministry's director, Press and Public Relations, Badamasi Haiba in Abuja on Thursday. The housing units, which comprise 1, 2 and 3 bedroom semi-detached bungalows, are part of the ministry's efforts to make home ownership more accessible and equitable for Nigerians. According to Haiba, the approved selling prices are 1 bedroom semi-detached bungalow at 8.5 million naira, 2 bedroom semi-detached bungalow at 11.5 million naira, and 3 bedroom semi-detached bungalow at 12.5 million naira. Minister of Housing and Urban Development Ahmed Musa Dangiwa explained that priority in the allocation of the housing unit will be given to low and middle income earners, civil servants at all levels of government, employees in the organized private sector with verifiable sources of income, and Nigerians in the diaspora who wish to own homes in the country. Meanwhile, the federal government has commiserated with the people of Niger State over the tragic petrol tanker explosion that occurred in Essa, Kacha local government area of the state on Tuesday. The government, in a statement signed by the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, said the incident, which left over 30 people dead, had once again brought to the devastating human and material consequences of fuel tanker accidents in communities. The government lamented that despite sustained public sensitization and repeated warnings about the dangers of scooping fuel from fallen tankers, some citizens still take such life-threatening risks. The federal government, however, said the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, had also been directed to complement ongoing efforts by the state government in providing relief and medical assistance to victims and their families. Now to the red chambers. The Senate on Wednesday called for the transfer of the burden of proof in election petitions from aggrieved candidates to the Independent National Electoral Commission, the body that conducts and supervises elections. The proposal formed a key part of deliberations as lawmakers debated the general principles of a bill seeking to repeal the 2022 Electoral Act and enact a new Electoral Act 2025. The move, they argued, would make the electoral process more credible, transparent and accountable. But the Senate's fresh proposal sharply divided opposition parties, with the PDP warning that the move could undermine democracy. And onto the floor of the Green Chambers, the House of Representatives has launched an investigation into how $4.6 billion in international aid grants between 2021 and 2025 were used. It argued that the grants had failed to prevent high mortality rates from HIV, tuberculosis and malaria. In a motion presented, the lawmakers said urgent oversight and a re-evaluation of current strategies were necessary to prevent the country from meeting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal of ending epidemics of those diseases by 2030. United States President Donald Trump, since returning to office in January, has led the way in cutting foreign aid budgets, prompting humanitarian workers to warn he has put the lives of vulnerable people, especially in Africa, at risk. In another development, Kanu Agabi, former Attorney General of the Federation and lead counsel to the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, today applied to withdraw his representation in the ongoing terrorism trial before the Federal High Court in Abuja. Kanu is facing trial on a 7-count charge bordering on terrorism filed against him by the federal government. When the matter was called today, Agabi informed the courts that he would no longer be representing the IPOB leader, adding that the defendants had decided to take back the case from them. In the same manner, all the senior advocates of Nigeria involved in the case also announced their withdrawal from the case. Meanwhile, court has adjourned till Friday for Nnamdi Kanu to open defense after lawyers withdrew. Meanwhile, former presidential candidate and activist Omoyele Sowore has been whisked away from the precincts of the Federal High Court in Abuja by armed policemen shortly after he made appearance for the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. Sowore, who is a frontline agitator for Kanu's release from detention, was today accosted by the security operatives who insisted he must move with them to the Federal Capital Territory FCT Police Command. Asked what his offense was, one of the officers explained that they were executing an order from the Commissioner of Police, even though he queried the absence of a letter of invitation to him. Sowore, who maintained that his lawyer must accompany him, was taken away in a police van. Moving now to the continent of Africa, judges in Cameroon have dismissed calls for the partial or total cancellation of the heavily disputed presidential election, saying that they will announce the results on Monday. Major cities in the country have been rocked by protest, with opposition supporters alleging that the 12 October poll was marred by irregularities, including ballot stuffing. Judges on the Constitutional Council dismissed 8 petitions, citing insufficient evidence of irregularities or a lack of jurisdiction to annul results. Recall that opposition candidate Issa Chiroma Bakari has declared himself the winner, a claim rejected by allies of 92-year-old President Paul Biya, who is seeking another 7-year term. Still in Africa, 5 French citizens have died while on a charitable mission in West Africa after their bus crashed off a bridge in Togo. Confirming Tuesday's road accident in the center of the coastal nation, the Togolese government gave a toll of 5 dead and 8 wounded without specifying the victims' nationalities. According to an official from the group's branch in La Coita in southwestern France, the hometown of 3 of the deceased, the victims were members of the Lions Club charity en route to open a maternity clinic in neighboring Benin Republic. On its website, the Lions Club, an international health and environment charity, says it has 1.4 million members across the world. On the foreign scene, United States President Donald Trump is set to embark on a major trip to Asia this week, with all eyes on an expected meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping that has huge implications for the global economy. Trump said on Wednesday he was making a big trip to Malaysia, Japan and South Korea, his first visit to the region since he returned to the White House in a blaze of tariffs and geopolitical brinkmanship. Much of the trip remains shrouded in uncertainty. The White House has given almost no details, and Trump has warned that his anticipated sit-down with Xi in South Korea may not even happen amid ongoing tension. Still on the foreign scene, the United Kingdom has announced a major change to its post-study work visa policy, reducing the period from 2 years to 18 months for international students, including Nigerians. The change will take effect from January 2027. The UK Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood made the announcement on October 14 explaining that the new policy is part of a broader effort to tighten immigration controls while still attracting top global talent. She also stressed the importance of immigrants meeting A-level standards in English to better integrate into the workforce. According to a statement published on the UK government's website on Wednesday, the revised post-study work period is designed to ensure that international graduates contribute effectively to the UK economy. Still to come in the news. Zimbabwe sacked German coach Nies after a winless World Cup campaign. Stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned, and now we'll bring you the rest of the news stories. On our business news, the Naira yesterday appreciated to 1,492 Naira per dollar in the parallel market from 1,495 Naira per dollar on Tuesday. But the Naira depreciated to 1,462 Naira per dollar in the Nigerian Foreign Exchange Market (NFEM). Data published by the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) showed that the exchange rate for the Naira rose to 1,462 Naira per dollar from 1,464.5 kobo per dollar on Tuesday, indicating 2.5 kobo appreciation for the Naira. Consequently, the margin between the parallel market and NFEM rates narrowed to 30 Naira per dollar from 35 Naira.5 kobo per dollar on Tuesday. Still in business, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has suffered a drop in both production and earnings, losing about 380 billion naira in September 2025 when compared to the previous month, according to its latest monthly performance report. Figures from the September report showed that the company's total revenue stood at 4.27 trillion naira, lower than the 4.65 trillion naira posted in August, representing a month-on-month loss of about 380 billion naira. Profit after tax also declined from 539 billion naira in August to 216 billion naira in September. The report indicated that total crude oil and condensate production averaged 1.61 million barrels per day in September compared to 1.65 million barrels per day in August. On our health news, stakeholders on Wednesday urged governments at all levels and Nigerians to strengthen food safety and nutrition, curb antimicrobial resistance, boost healthcare funding, enhance pandemic preparedness, and invest in women's health to build resilient health systems and extend the life expectancy of Nigerians. They made the call at the 2025 Gatefield Health Summit in Abuja, themed Resilient Health Futures. This year's focus is on strengthening local health resilience through chronic disease management, outbreak preparedness, women's health, antimicrobial resistance, health financing, and the One Health approach. The summit noted that a resilient health system is critical for improving life expectancy, which currently stands at 54 years. The event, organized by the Gatefield Impact Foundation, brings together leaders from government, civil society, the academia, and the private sector. Still in health, in a move to deepen public awareness on compulsory health insurance, the Lagos State Health Management Agency has unveiled Nigeria's first health insurance online radio, known as Ilere Echo, spotlights to educate residents on the importance and benefits of enrolling in this scheme. The Health Awareness Digital Radio is another innovative step by LASHMA towards achieving universal health coverage in Lagos State through effective information dissemination on the state's mandatory social health insurance scheme, popularly known as Ilere Echo. The social health insurance of Lagos State is backed by the State Health Scheme Law of 2015, which makes it compulsory for all residents of the state to have health insurance regardless of their socioeconomic status. Recall that in July 2024, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu signed an executive order making health insurance compulsory for all residents. And now to the world of sports, where Zimbabwe has sacked head coach Michael Nies on Wednesday after failing to win any of 10 qualifiers matches for the 2026 World Cup. The Warriors drew 5 matches and lost 5 to finish bottom of a group won by neighbor South Africa, who secured a 4th appearance at the global showpiece. The 58-year-old German won only 2 of 16 matches since taking charge last year, both against Namibia in 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. Zimbabwe have been drawn with Egypt, South Africa, and Angola in the first round of the AFCON tournament, which kicks off in Morocco December 21st. Still in sports, Chelsea took full advantage of an early red card for Ajax captain Kenneth Taylor to trash the Dutch Giants 5-1 in the Champions League at Stamford Bridge on Wednesday. Enzo Maresca's gamble in making 10 changes paid off as Marco and Moses Caicedo struck before Enzo Fernandez and Estavo converted from the penalty spot in the first half. Tryg George rounded off the scoring in the second half as Chelsea made it back-to-back Champions League wins after an opening night defeat at Bayern Munich. The Blues climbed to 11th in the table, while Ajax remained rooted to the bottom of the Champions League standings. On entertainment news, Nigerian music star David Adeleke, popularly known as Davido, has been appointed chairman of the Osun State Sports Trust Fund. The appointment was announced in a statement issued by the Osun State government on Wednesday, October the 22nd, 2025, as part of efforts to reposition and revitalize the state sports sector. According to the statement, Davido's new role is aimed at mobilizing resources to drive the development and the modernization of sports facilities across Osun State. The government emphasized that the move reflects Governor Ademola Adeleke's commitment to improving sports infrastructure and creating opportunities for youth engagement. And that's all we're able to bring to you at this time on the 12 o'clock news bulletin. You also follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. Spectrum Television News at 12, Uyai, MM. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of the day.